Good morning. My name's Taylor. This is the Hacking Company real estate team, and we have some awesome people with us as always. Anthony D'Souza, how are you doing this morning?
Feeling great. It's Friday. It's not as cold as it has been.
Oh
Market's
yeah.
hot.
And it's also kind of an interesting time of year for realtors because in February is where they basically process all the statistics from last year and normalize them. Because statistics don't come out the way that you want them to. But on top of that, they also are able to determine, some of the high flyers among us. And Anthony, you got a award from Remax International. So way to get your 100% club. They also were recognizing you for top donor on the top donors list for Children's Miracle Network, which is super cool. So that was awesome to see. We are also joined by Jane Vu. How you doing this morning, Jane?
Hi, I'm doing great, and I love the weather. The weather is so good. Feel warmer.
Oh yeah. And Jane, you have been busy for months and months helping a community come to Edmonton that is having a tough time because they don't speak English. So I don't
Yes.
know that everybody knows that you speak both Vietnamese and English, but I just wanted to mention that because you've been helping so many people, and that's difficult to navigate.
Yeah, I help a lot of people come here, and English is a challenge for them. So I'm happy to help them walk through the buying real estate process. So yeah, it's happy to help.
Oh, it's just wonderful to see it come together there, and also get some good results for you. Picked up a couple of awards: Remax Executive Club, as well as Remax River City. You were Rookie of the Year last year.
Yeah. I'm also
So
feel grateful for the support from the team and the support from the community too.
yeah, that's something that is really special. That was a big part of my real estate career as well. There's pockets of people out there that like you're their agent, like
Yeah.
they're your people. Whenever they see a sign pop up down the block, they give you a call and they're like, "Oh, what did that one sell for?" Things like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
Things
cool
happen
just
like
getting
that.
out and meeting the neighbors and meeting the community. James, you were in Lender Place last week
That,
and spent a lot of time talking to people in that community.
yeah, we talked to a lot of people. I hosted a couple open houses there, and it was really busy, probably the busiest open houses I've ever hosted, like at least this year. So, yeah, it was really busy. And even on the day where we had tons of snow, when we had that big snow dump about a week or so ago, even on that day, we had a bunch of people come out. So,
So when people are having open houses, like I know that many of the agents that I talk to are saying that they have like maybe 4 or 5 groups through in a day. How
mhm.
many did you have through this weekend?
I think we had about 15 groups.
Oh, yeah. And
Mhm.
you were in Ramsey Heights a couple weeks ago. What was it like there?
It was also very busy there, especially like on the opening weekend. Super busy. Pretty close to this as well, actually.
Oh, fantastic. And we had also had open house in Otwell that did really well out there in Tuscany. Like there's a few things. People are paying a lot of attention. Would you agree?
Hmm.
Yes.
So what the heck's going on in real estate, guys?
Well, I think the most important thing to talk about, even from the stats package, would be we are officially back into being a seller's market, and that was for February. So we went from being at 3.1, which would be a balanced market for months of inventory in January, to now at 2.4. And so you can definitely feel it. The good stuff is going quick.
Jane, how does it feel to be in a seller's market?
Um, Honestly, it's feel a little bit pressure because like one
Mm.
seller, we have like 10 buyer. I go into a lot of property, multiple offer, 10, 15 offer, and like they buy it unconditionally. So yeah, it's feel great and pressure at the same time. And you need to know that you need to act fast. If you like some property, you need to act really fast.
I don't think that most people know what kind of conversations that we have in this office, but like we are genuinely looking to save people from 3-star experiences. And right now, a lot of them are concerned about the way that the market is moving up as buyers. And as experts, we like to step it out and say, like, the biggest concern is that you miss. Like, most people don't know. They think, okay, on this house, I want to pay this amount or not this amount, right? And that makes sense. But you got to zoom out a little bit, because the next property that you like, well, all the people that just lost in that multiple offer, they're going to want that one too. And that seller is already going to have sale information on the place that just sold. So do you think it's going to be priced the same, higher, or lower? It's going to go
It's
up.
gonna be higher.
And do you think that there's going to be the same amount of buyers or more buyers given our market trend right now?
More.
Sales are up, new listings are down. Buyers are coming to the market at a higher pace than sellers, but there's this X factor that's freaking me out. And the thing that's freaking me out is these out-of-town birds. Holy Dinah. Those people from Ontario and BC, like, we represent them. They call us. There's so many people that we met in Toronto in December or in Vancouver in September. And we have this flow of people coming in from Vancouver and Ontario. And, if you were to compare them with bees, because we, kind of as beekeepers would see so many different bees, and these are Africanized bees. These are killer bees, right? They're coming in over list price with no conditions. We have come from a market where we keep telling our clients, you know what? It's have a responsible purchase. You guys should have a home inspection. Tony, you just helped somebody buy a house that had time and like had booked a home inspection.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy just said, looks good to me, hey?
Yeah, interesting. Out of town buyer, sold a $2 million acreage, bought something just over 800. The first time he saw it was a week after we already went pending on it and had a couple of days to go. Walked through it, loved it. I had to force him to go through it again just to make sure. And he's like, yeah, I'm good. Let's just buy this place. It's only a couple years old. And that's just what they're used to. Like, I don't think anybody that's from the area here would really feel comfortable doing that for the most part. But these guys from other places, they're, like you said, they're used to it. They're more accustomed to that being the norm.
Yep. Super accustomed to that being the norm. And also, it is something that is made worse by the fact that they have so much cash. Like, they just sold that a house very similar to like that $800,000 property, and it was, $2 million. So the amount of equity that they're coming with, they're like, yeah, if something breaks, I have money. I just sort that out later, right?
That's right.
And it's really interesting that way. So this is something that, as I said, has me concerned because I'm worried about our locals. Our locals have not had this level of competition before, and if they lose 3 times in a row, the third house that they're buying, if they would have beat that first offer, they would have done way better than ended up winning on the third one because eventually they realized the level of play. But there's also some good news. Like, let's break it down a little bit. When we take a look at like buyer demand to seller supply, like, sales are up. How much are they up? Anybody tell me? I'm gonna give
they're
it.
up. If we look at just how many sales there were in January to what happened in February for the sales, we're up about 500 units from January alone.
Yeah,
So
it's
just
pretty
under
wild because
2,000
like,
properties sold in February.
yeah, I was making a couple of notes, and what I saw was that the number of sales we've had is almost 2,000 in February. And when we look at the 5-year average, that 5-year average was like 1,650.
Mm-hmm.
And where's the most heat? Where's the most pressure in our market right now?
Affordable homes. So, properties between, let's say, 3 to 450 are super hot, and townhouses, duplexes, and those smaller homes for sure.
And for the first time ever, apartment style condos. What's going on there? Like, now apartment style condos are still sitting out on a couple of things. So it's still like, hold your horses. We're watching these things. But the average days on market on almost every other property type was either a week to 2 weeks faster from month to month. From January to February, things got way quicker, and in March, they're even faster. So right now, I want buyers to think that most things aren't going to be on the market for over 30 days. right? And that's because so much is selling on that opening weekend. But meanwhile, condos still hanging out at 65 days, right? Because the market's not done sucking up all the excess inventory there, but it's working on it. And last month we saw that their sale to list price improved. You know, they used to have a 5% gap. That was the average deal there. And then they went to like this 4% gap. That hasn't changed either.
Yeah, I
Meanwhile,
think
their neighbors, those Rowan townhouses, that's a smoke show, right? Like 99% of list price, 9 out of 10 of them that get listed, like every 10 that come to the market, 9 are leaving.
Yeah, and I
That's
think
so
the most
crazy.
shocking stat that I saw for condos is, if we looked at, let's say, a condo under 150, like that was not something that was super desirable before, and now we're seeing multiple offers there. And another point that I mentioned, kind of mentioned or kind of alluded to earlier was the days on market. Like on average for each property type, we're moving about 10 days faster than we were in January.
I see. I'm not sure if you guys can hear him. Can you guys hear Louis?
Not
Okay,
Louis.
good. Yeah, because, well, for people that can't see him, I have a small French bulldog that is sleeping in my office, and he's sawing logs like nobody's business. He's so loud right now, I'm worried that people are going to think that I'm passing gas. But I'm glad that he's not coming through my mic. And I totally agree with you, Tony. There's so much that is taking shape in our market right now. Um, what have you guys seen that is surprising to you? What where's the gap from like what don't people know about what's going on in Edmonton real estate right now?
Well, one thing that stood out for me was that looking at the stats, I see a lot of similarities for the trend comparing now to 2022
Mm.
when things were really hot. Can you share a little bit about that?
Absolutely, because that's one of the things that I really like about how you're approaching real estate, James, is that becoming a student of the game and taking a look at what's happened in history and being like, hey, is this actually like that? And I'm going to throw some comparisons and I'm also going to throw some contrasts. So the comparisons is like 2022. We're looking that way when it comes down to like the relationship of buyers and sellers in our market. Buyers were outnumbering sellers, and inventory was low. But like in 2022, the forces there were coming out of COVID. So many people didn't move before that really needed to move because they were afraid. And then the second shoe dropping was interest rates were marching up from historic lows. So that's where we see the contrast in that market versus today's market. Because in 2024, the action isn't in the same spot. It was all average families moving up that was driving 2022. Average price was up in almost every segment, well, especially in detached, because it was people that had money that could make that happen. There was a bunch of people that were still sorting out CERB and stuff. The bottom of the market was brutal.
Yeah, it was the
But
families that
now,
needed more space that were the ones that were doing most of the damage.
yeah, and also they like the market was consuming all the money that we would normally spend on travel and entertainment because those were in short supply, coming out of the pandemic.
Plus,
And
that was
then,
one of the only things you could do outside of your house. I remember that.
yeah, oh, it was trendy to go and look at real estate. And also everybody was like saying like, oh, it looks like remote work is here to stay, so maybe we should move further out, get a bigger house. All of those things were changing. And then this year, it's people driving, like moving into Alberta from other areas. That's the driving force in the market. And there's so many less established people here that are basically trying to get away from that high cost of living in BC and Ontario. And they're taking up the bottom of our market. It's like that, and investors are buying because they're knowing that they're coming here as renters. So some very different characteristics from 2022 to here, but also in 2022, you could kind of see that the writing was on the wall that it was going to stop, that as interest rates rose, eventually they would get to a point where they would stifle the fire, right? There's nothing to stifle the fire now. There's nothing to stop Edmonton from correcting the same way that Calgary corrected, the same way that Toronto and Vancouver corrected during pandemic. They're probably going to adjust down those Toronto and Vancouver markets and meet Calgary, but Edmonton is going to like collect the people that bring it up to that level. Like, would it surprise me that we see a 50% gain over 3 years? I was in the real estate industry in 2005 and 2006 doing mortgages. I've seen this before. And all the markers are here. This is going to be wild.
Yeah, I saw a statistic that Remax had shared from one of their conferences just a couple of days ago, and they said the average house in Canada is over 700,000. And when you look at that compared to what you can get here, like even just a couple of years ago, you'd look at someone that has a house that's in the 700 range, and you're like, what do they do for work? Right? You're almost just like looking around, and that's the average across Canada right now. And you can get a wicked house here for that price if you're in the Edmonton or surrounding areas. And so that's
Dane, what
kind of
can you
what we're,
buy for 700?
yeah,
I have a buyer from BC. They came here and they buy a house, that brand new house in Keswick area, have like very nice layout, 2 ensuite and like spy kitchen and very nice house. She told me that
that's
this house she buy, if she bought this in BC, it's gonna cost around anywhere between 2 and 3 million. So here it's just about 660. So she very happy, and the square foot for that one is above 2,000. So she loved the house so much. And with the money, with the same amount, like she couldn't buy something like that in BC, just a townhouse, very small townhouse in BC with that amount of money.
That's incredible. And James, you've been out with some people from the UK, and they're trying to adjust to see like, hey, what do you get here for what you have there? It's a pretty big
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah, no, it is a big difference. And since they're coming from the UK, there's a lot of differences between there and here. And one thing is actually just like the age of homes. And because in the UK, you get homes that are like from the Victorian period, and that's not out of the ordinary. So
Yeah.
when they see a home here, they're like, yeah, we saw one that was like 1913, and they're like, that's not too bad. It doesn't seem that old. I'm like, that's like the beginning of Edmonton almost. But you know what I mean.
Well, actually, yeah, your family used to own Ritchie Mill, which was built in 1867. So it's neat here to see how you're both tied to real estate here and there. Like not everybody knows that your family is involved with Remax in Scotland, but that's something that we find brings like a neat flavor to our team. And you can bridge the gap because you can use words like bloke and the lift.
That's right.
So when we say like, okay, where is this going? Like, what do you think we are going to see this spring that people are not aware of right now?
condo sellers. A lot of them have been just making do, right? They've been wanting to move for so long, but they haven't had the equity to do it. They're worried about upcoming assessments and stuff like that. And we're getting really close to that point where it's going to be like, let's go, because we're going to be able to get you out and you're going to make some money and you're going to go and buy something awesome and you're going to be really happy.
And really, I want to tell all of our condo sellers that like still just let this market take shape. Like right now, it's just not going to be awful to sell your place. And in previous years, it was kind of awful because you had like one buyer for 6 sellers. And now that's starting to equalize, right? Like James, you were doing market research on a complex yesterday, and out of every 10 listings that had finished their listing, how many had sold?
Just over 7.
That's incredible for condos. We would normally see 3. Remember that, Tony?
Yeah, it was
So they're
sad.
really taking shape, but the prices are just starting to go up. Like that's the thing. Like you're getting ready for a multiple or to compete in a multiple offer a little bit later today, and that's on an apartment style condo. And that's something that we haven't seen. But if you're looking to do well on apartment style condos, let it roll. Right? The market's going to start giving you money, but as soon as you stop, you define yourself as a seller. As soon as you sell, that's the day. And that's the value you cash out on. Whereas this market's going to build that direction. Rent is up, vacancy is down, and it's actually like not bad to sell condos right now. So if you're just tired and you want out, then start your engines. But those people that like maybe see what the fall market has for you, I think they're going to be picking up money in bags. I think we're going to see 99 or 99% list to sale price on that stuff. So automatically they're going to gain like 3% off what the average is today. And we're going to start see them gain in value, so they outperform their recent statistics. And man, we haven't really seen that in condos for over half a decade.
I thought it would be good to share because right now the theme when you talk to other agents, they're like, oh, there's just not enough inventory. And I find that interesting because we've actually had a record for most new listings in February, but it doesn't feel like it, right? We've had more listings than ever any other time in the last 5 years in February, and even did pretty well in January, but it doesn't feel like there's that many listings because there's just so many of them that are selling right now, which would be uncommon for this time of year.
I see you nodding, Jane. What do you think?
I think Tony absolutely right. Doesn't feel like many listing out there because probably I run into 10 offer and 15 offer, so doesn't have many thing out there, like I said in the start. Yeah.
So we know that it was a record, but it was only a record a little over the 5-year average. And when we see demand on the sales side, like we're up like 30% 2 months in a row.
Mm-hmm.
So all that inventory coming to the market is just being hoovered up. It's just like it's gone. And that's one of the things that I'm wondering about as the market takes shape a little bit more, because in most economic models, demand is what calls supply to the market. Like we've been having so many conversations with the people around us of being like, hey, I know that real estate hasn't opened many doors for you over the last 5 or 6 years as far as like gaining equity, but what if it did? You know, at what price are you guys shopping for your next house? Like at what value of this one opens those next doors for you guys? What's your long-term plan? Because that's what we're starting to see our market move towards. What else do you think that we should be ready for coming into the spring here?
Buyers that are looking for bungalows better be ready because there's not a lot of good inventory for bungalows. And there are a lot of people that have their eye on those. They want to, it's finally time for them to downsize. They don't want anything with many stairs. So if you are looking for a bungalow, especially if it's got laundry and it's on the main floor and it's got, 12 to 1,300 or even larger, be ready because the good stuff's going to go super quick. And I know a whole bunch of buyers right now that are looking for that stuff and they can't find it right now.
So that'll probably be pretty tight. What do you think, Jane?
I think like the probably between the price like from 400 to 500, they should be ready too, because they're going to be the hot market is just right there. So yeah, be prepared for that.
James?
Yeah, I would just say, I think it was kind of touched on before, but not only to expect multiple offers on like the better properties, but also probably we might start seeing them just on like the mid-range stuff that you normally wouldn't expect to have multiple offers.
Mm-hmm. What I see is sellers leaving cash on the table. The agents that are not aware of how this works, like we have more people going through the real estate course right now than any time previously in Alberta. There's a bunch of new agents. There's also a bunch of people that haven't performed in markets like this before. So even if you go back to 2022, how many realtors are still around from then? Like Tony is breaking the mold right now because there's only 13% of us that ever get past 5 years. So when you take a look at the recent experience of real estate agents in the Edmonton market, how many of them are equipped to really run multiple offer process? So I don't know, like, how would you guys describe like a lot of the times I take you to I kind of like try to take us into the future. So when you take a look at how we've set up our team to perform in this, what did we do in advance of this spring?
We were reviewing multiple offer process. We were talking a lot about what we do and how we can help people win and encouraging, discussions around strategy. and what we've seen before and what we know could work, like getting in line with our experts like home inspectors, having them booked, when we bring an offer,
Mainly
and
for
making sure
sellers,
that,
Tony.
oh, and for sellers, really just keeping them in tune with the market. Like, here's like the 3 most recent sales. Here's the most expensive sale, really trying to get them in tune with what's happening around them, and really just having those conversations with them to kind of get them ready. Like, hey, if this is the year, get ready to go. We're going to let you know when it's the right time.
Jane, do you remember getting ready for this market and talking to like those teams that we met with in Toronto?
Yes, we talk with the team in Toronto and see like we learn from them to deal with this kind of market. And also for the seller side, we also have the listing launch process to help them prepare for those things like this. So yeah.
Most people don't have a listing launch process.
Yeah.
So the majority of the time, when properties get listed on MLS, that's when the first people find out about them. Right? So what we call that is day zero. And because of this, so many people don't get any showings on day zero. Or maybe their showings start at like 4 p.m. or 6 p.m., right? I've even seen some agents drop listings onto the market at like 10 or 11 p.m., which basically give away day zero. Why is day zero so important?
Makes people nervous, for one, but also it's really hard to get day zero showings, and it's not available everywhere. Like, we know that some of the websites take some time to update, so it depends where you are. Usually the people that are working with agents, they'll get notified first as soon as it hits the market, but not everybody will see it if they're just using the public tools.
And how does it feel when you walk up to a brand new listing? Like, James, have you got into any listings that are so new they don't even have to sign up?
Yeah, it's you've got to try to determine, is this one that's going to go right away, or could it be one of the ones that last a little bit longer? So
And that's immediately where your head goes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is like, man, is this going to explode? Day zero is where the power is. There is no replacement of brand new. Day zero is the only day zero you get. And the height of the offers will be very focused on the beginning of your listing. So when you think about when multiple offers happen, we would say that the vast majority, like you could almost call it like 99% of them would happen in the first 4 days, right? And this is where the mistakes start. Because one, if you're standing still until day zero, and that's when you're starting to gain momentum, it's really tough to pick up as much as you could have. And then the second thing is if you host offers too early and you have momentum, you're leaving money on the table, full stop. Like, let's say that you have a banger opening, like, let's say that you couldn't load day zero. So you just had 5 showings on day 1 and 3 of them gave offers, and then you hosted offers that night. Oh man, you didn't develop any momentum. You would have had 8 showings the next day. You could have really pushed. What we do with our pre-marketing and our coming soon process, like, remember Bring That Property to the Market in Windermere last year? 68 showings on opening weekend. Cordell hosted an open house, and he had 30 groups through both days. We just
Please take
like
a number.
that's what it looks like when it blows up. That house went for tens of thousands of dollars over its list price. And if we would have started working on day zero, like, nobody wants to hire that guy. The guy who shows up just right on time and then starts to unpack his tools. That's garbage. And I gotta say that with this market coming, that's where we're gonna see the biggest pain points. Like, when we talk about 3-star experiences, leaving thousands of dollars on the table because you don't know how to play a hot market, that's where the 3 stars are gonna sting the most, because now you're gonna have to go buy in a hot market. And if you chose somebody who can't perform on the selling side, how are you going to beat 10 other offers to get that house you want? That's where my head's at. So as we close off, what do you think that you would want people to know that maybe are looking at listing their property for sale? What do you want them to know about what's happening right now? We just talked about listing launch process, but is there anything else that you could bring to their attention? Maybe you can comfort them. Maybe you want to warn them about something.
I would say that most people that are planning on selling this year have a place to buy. And most of them are really nervous about what they're going to get because they don't want to be stuck having to settle for something. And so get us involved as early as you can in that process. We'd love to be able to show you how often those types of houses show up. And if it would be a good strategy to go and buy that one first and then list your property, knowing that we've got a bit of a runway before you take possession and get and have an awesome listing experience for you. And then there's always risk involved, but knowing where you're going sometimes will make it feel that much better. And then we can get you all the money on your sale.
Totally making those calculated risks. And also, certainty has changed. Most people are going to be really uncertain about getting the property they want this year, but they'll probably be really certain about selling their property. Like we may see in their neighborhood that 90% of everything sells, and if they're listing with us, we can get the job done. So then they're going to have a ton of confidence, but it'll be about finding the one, and that changes the order of operation. I think that's a great point. What do you think, Jane?
I think that's great. Like we need to prepare for their seller. Also, like I totally understand with Tony. Agree with Tony because like if they sell their place, they need to go to buy things. So good strategy need to be planned at the beginning.
Is there anything that you wanted to add, James?
I would just add, kind of going off of the making the most of the opening weekend, about using kind of price as a marketing tool to just really boost that.
Can you explain that concept?
Yeah, so it's basically just not like sometimes when sellers are trying to choose a price, they think that choosing the list price, that's what they're gonna get. But really it's more of a marketing tool, and it's going to determine how many people see and come and visit the property. And it's that, like the traffic and the kind of like the exposure that the property gets, that's going to determine what it goes for.
I totally agree. I think that there's going to need to be a lot of that. A lot of people don't understand that you're going to outperform all of the comparables. When the market moves up, that's why you use price as a marketing tool and then use that listing launch process to make sure you're getting the highest and best by pushing into multiple offers. That's what it takes to create benchmark pricing, and that's going to be a big factor. So on the buying side, you need to worry about missing because it will cost you more the more you miss. That's like failure to acclimate to the market, and we can help you there. But you can be confident that if prices are going up, it'll cover any amount that you went over right away. And if prices continue to mark up, then you'll actually start to make money through there. So you'll make money by not missing. And then on the seller side, for the love of everything, just interview multiple agents. Like bring two of your favorites, ask your friends, put us against anybody. Because if they're better than us, you should absolutely list with them. Okay? And that's the difference. We would happily be your benchmark. If you can find better than us, list with them, but bring us to your table. Thanks so much for joining me this morning. I really appreciate you filling in everyone on what's actually happening on the front end of the market, where many people are not even decoding what has already happened. And if you would like more information, you can reach any HACK&Co teammate. You can go to their bios on our website, get direct contact information. You can call the Fast Agent hotline at 780-909-6770. Don't wait for calls backs from listing agents. Okay, we can get you in. So let us know and we'll talk soon. Cheers.